Quick disclaimer before I start my video of my summer coloring books. I'm making this at the end of when I just finished my video. I want to put a little disclaimer that I do go on a chat about some family drama that revolved when my dad passed away and how my stepmother stole, literally stole from me after my dad passed, some of the things my dad was going to leave me. That made me think of that because it involved tropical stuff when I was talking about the summer books. And I might have used a bad word or two, a very subtle one, a name and calling type way when I referred to my stepmother. So just a little disclaimer, if you don't want to hear my whole story, and it's very shocking, but feel free to turn off the sound while you're doing the flip through, and let's start the video. Hi friends, welcome to my video on my summer adult coloring book recommendations. If you haven't seen it, I released this past Wednesday video number 1 of 4 of my adult coloring book bucket list, 50 books I've chosen to complete in full. Most I haven't done any pictures in, and these are from my best coloring books. Most of them are international, overseas, European, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Russian, and some older retired, harder to find or out of print books. So take a look at that, because tomorrow I'll be releasing part 2, and I will link part 1 below. Okay, so I'm going to look at these. Certainly these are the only summer vibe type ones I could find. I have a bin of coloring books in my storage locker, and I can't really get there at this time. There might be some more summer ones in there, but I think this is a good enough selection to give you some ideas. I want to start with this one because it's brand new. I just got this in the mail. This is called Coloring the Beautiful Hawaii, 50 images. And I love Hawaii. I'm a huge fan. I've been there probably 7 or 8 times, all the different islands. You know, it is hard to find a good Hawaii coloring book, particularly like a straight up Hawaii coloring book. I've looked at a lot, I've returned a lot. This one is pretty decent that I've been able to find. So I wish someone would release just a gorgeous, like high quality paper Hawaii coloring book of particular like sights and scenes of different places around the islands. But this is the best I could find, and I do like it. You know, it's mediocre. It is an Amazon book. I will link it below. I'll try to link these books in order in the drop down below if you're interested in any. So let's just start looking at these. Some of these have kind of like a Zen doodly type theme, and they are single-sided pictures. So you just put a divider between them, and you can use markers if you want. I love alcohol markers in these kind of books. I use my Copic skin tones for most people. And this one actually has a lot of detail. It's not like just like crummy clip art and stuff like that put in there. I mean, there might be some of that merged in, but even if it was digitally, 100% digitally created, there's a lot of different details and variety in the book, and I think it looks, you know, good enough to be something I would want to color, and I am really pretty picky about my coloring books. This is the Maui banyan tree, which of course spreads out over 1 or 2 whole blocks, which burned down sadly in the fire last August. Very sad. This looks like Waikiki to me. You can see the big buildings here in Honolulu. I'm trying to think where that is. I think that's Oahu. More, yeah, it looks like downtown Honolulu. I think it'd be fun if someone did a Hawaiian shirt coloring book. I love Hawaiian shirts. I have about 15 of them that belong to my dad, Tommy Bahama, and Ray Spooner or something like that, more Waikiki. Very expensive collectible shirts, half of which I had about 30, but they got stolen by his wife after my dad died. Oh my God, that was such a nightmare. She's a monster. Ooh, this looks to me like on Kauai, if you go up by one of the waterfalls on this winding road, there's one part you can stop and look over the waterfall on one side, but if you look down on the other side, way down below in this like valley, there's this old Hawaiian village of these like brown huts. And I've never gone down there because the road to go down there is super steep and it terrifies me. But yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh, Maui banyan tree again. I told my dad when he was dying from pancreatic cancer, the only thing I wanted were his Hawaiian shirts. That's what I associate him with. He's always worn. He had about 30 very expensive ones, like collectible ones that go all the way back to the 1960s. And, you know, I could wear them. My boys could wear them since they're grown. And then the other thing I wanted was the rest of my mom's paintings, which he had kept after she died 12 years ago because she was an artist. Okay, fine. So in his will, he put, I was told, he put, and I get the Hawaiian shirts, yada, yada. And I was there the night before he died, and his death, unfortunately, was a scheduled death, which was a whole other story. Because he did the death with dignity, which is legal in California. So the night before, we were down in California because we knew he was going to do it the next day and all that. And he told me that in his wine locker, which was outside, it had a padlock on it. It's like a cold refrigerated giant walk-in wine locker for all his collectible wine. He had like 3,000 bottles of wine in there. He lived in the Napa Valley. His wife made off with all that too, but anyway, love all these flowers, Hawaiian flowers in the background, blended in with this Hawaiian shirt. And it's nice to see a man in a Hawaiian book, or in any Hawaiian book every now and again. Anyway, what was I saying? So he's like, oh yeah, in my locker, things are packaged and labeled up with your and the boys' names on it after I go. And I said, well, we can take them when we leave here if you want. Oh no, so-and-so. I'm not going to name her name, but his newer wife after my mom. My parents were married 45 years. My mom died. He immediately married this younger woman, and that says everything you need to know right there. But anyway, so-and-so, the stepmother, the wicked stepmother, he says, oh no, she's going to bring it to you I live up in Oregon. She's going to bring it up to you there, and when she gets around to it, and in case she finds anything else in the house to add. But he had like 7 or 8 boxes of things labeled with mine and the boys' names on it, my kids, and ready to go for like 2 months in there. But she didn't want him to let us take them, which I thought was odd. After he were to pass, when we were to leave, the next day. And so he said, oh, I said, oh, are there any Hawaiian shirts in there? Kind of joking. He's like, oh, they're in there, all 25 of them, or no, all 29 of them. I'm like, okay, great. And then also, I never got to see a copy of his will, but I was told, as were my grown sons, that we would get a copy of his will after he died from his wife when she delivered the items to our state, which she was going to drive 12 hours to bring it to us. And she's an old lady. The whole thing was kind of weird. She's not an old lady. He's 76. She's 10 years younger. Whatever. Okay. I think she's more like 12 years younger. This looks like the Capitol building, the State House. Anyway, so I'm just telling stories. What happened? What do I say? Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. So the whole scenario of how we got the items was, that's a whole other disgraceful story, but which is really interesting and messed up. But okay, let's just fast forward to the point when I got the items, dumped, might I add, up here in Oregon by wicked stepmother. And she wasn't really a stepmother because she would never acknowledge we existed. But anyway, it's a whole other story. Oh, look at the pineapples, my favorite. I didn't ever get to see her because she dumped and ran. But, which I'll tell that story separately. But anyway, I ended up with 12 Hawaiian shirts on hangers. Not folded in boxes, on hangers. But my dad said they're all nicely folded in boxes. They're on hangers. There's only 12. And, she dumped and ran, so I couldn't question her on it. Oh, this looks like Lahaina. Yeah, and Lahaina, as we know, also burned straight on down and through on the fire last year. In fact, when my dad was dying in August, when I was there, is when we were watching the fires on TV, which was so sad because my parents and I, my kids and I always went down there together to Hawaii like every other year for 20 years or whatever, like just forever. I've probably been there actually like a dozen times. I lost count, but anyway. So I get 12 shirts on hangers, and I couldn't question about it. Well, then there's the will. Each of my sons and I got a copy of the will in a giant manila envelope. We each got our own copy with our name on it, even though they're all the same. And in the will, and my dad did the will himself on one of those things where you can get the papers online or the software online, and you put in everything you want. You know, you have an account, you put everything in you want, you can change it as you go, print it, and then you take it to the post office or wherever and notarize it, and that's what they did. It had been notarized back in July, and the last page, and signed by him and their two best friends, which is really his wife's best friends, and some post office person. My dad died August 23rd, so I didn't get the stuff from her till the end of September. And when I got the shirt, I'm going to stop that for storage for a minute and go to the next book. Okay, anyway, so I like this book a lot. It is making me think of all the places in Hawaii I've been, so I do recommend this because I've looked at a lot of Hawaii books and they mostly are all crap. I'm just going to be honest there. All right, let's look at this one. This one is fun. This is Island Vibes by Coloring Book Cafe. Really like this book. It's fun and different. These are all inexpensive books. They're like $7.99 on Amazon. I'll link them all below. And Coloring Book Cafe always has these like little postcardy type things here. All right. So as I'm flipping through, I'll continue my story because that's what I do. I tell stories. All right, and this one has more basic line art. It's more on the easy, simple side. A little more detail than super easy, but very beginner friendly. But if you're intermediate or advanced, you can do a lot of your own embellishments, blending, things like that. All right, so let's see. Fast forward September. Got the shirts, opened the will in the envelope after she dumped and ran. And, you know, there's a section that says me, each of my kids, blah, blah. And under my section, there's only two things. It's a section that said for me. And this was somewhere in the middle of like the 12. All the pages of the document where I see what he left her were missing. So I only saw like the first 2 or 3 pages, the stuff for me and the boys, and the rest of it was all missing. And then the final end page. So like it's numbered like 1 through 5, and then there's like 12 pages missing in the middle, and then there's the final page. Oh, what a coincidence. Okay, so anyway. So I got that. I don't know what this is. Is that a cooler? I have no idea. So under my section, it said, oh my God, this just makes me so mad when I even talk about it. I'm still not over it. I'll probably never be over it. It said, and I know his wife was very controlling. My dad was kind of codependent, the complete opposite of my mom. My mom and dad were middle school sweethearts. They met in middle school. They started dating in high school in the 1960s. They were married for 45 years, and my mom passed away. My dad was like, I think, so afraid to be alone, he immediately ran out and married this other woman in like 2 months. So yeah, that was always a red flag. But anyway, so that was 10 years ago. They happened. I don't know how he managed to stay with her that long, although he did confess to me when he was dying, when she wasn't around, that he's never been happy since my mom died, that he couldn't wait for this all to be over with because he'd had it, and couldn't wait to see my mom again. And don't tell blah, 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 wicked stepmother, he said. So that made me feel really good. No, and she's like a real, excuse the phrase, ball busting bitch. Very masculine, never been married when they met. She was in her she was like 56. She had been engaged twice. Each time the men dumped her. That was a red flag right there. I have no idea why my dad married this woman. She was like a obvious gold digger. Anyway, she basically was like she wanted to deliver the item. She wanted to control the final outcome of what we got, you know, and she was probably highly annoyed that my dad said I could have all his wine shirts and all the rest of my mother's paintings. Even though I already had a lot of them. She was obviously bothered by that. And he told me it was taken care of. It was in the will. He put in there himself and blah, blah, blah. Now, keep in mind, she was always in his office, always using his computer. It's like also their home computer, and they had their own will software. So you could easily change any of the pages in the middle, reprint, and put it in with the others, even if you've had the final page notarized as the whole document. Because only one page is notarized and stamped, which is the final page. All the ones in between, like, and I believe this is what happened after he died, she changed it. She went in and changed one of the middle pages reprinted it and added it in. And that's why she wanted to deliver the documents to us. And my dad, she had told my dad, don't give it to them. She probably convinced him, oh, they're going to pine after things. Or she was really afraid I was going to convince my dad to change something. Probably she knew she had gotten it. So when my mom passed away, my dad had made it where I was his executor. I was the beneficiary of his life insurance and his 401ks, yada yada, all that. Well, then he married wicked stepmother. You guys know what happened with the Tori Spelling father and stepmother case? Well, there you go. So there's a lot of similarities there. All right, so I'm gonna continue my story here. Island vibes. Okay, so another one I'm gonna recommend is Beach Town by Coloring Book Cafe. Generic beach, anything tropical, not necessarily Hawaii only. Again, basic line art, but fun, different. This one has a lot more detail than the Island vibes, so it's not as beginner, it's more, intermediate. I mean, you can do beginner, just do single colors and no blending, certainly. All right, so I'm still getting to the punchline about this Will and the Hawaiian shirts. Oh my gosh. Okay. I really like this one. I haven't colored it, but I plan on to a lot this summer because I like all the details. And I've been other places. I've been to the Caribbean, 2 different Caribbean islands. We went on a Caribbean cruise. I went to some of the different islands, which reminds me of this book more. So this is less Hawaii than it is islands that are owned by, French or whatever. The U.S. doesn't own all the Caribbean islands. I don't think. Pretty sure they don't. What did I say? Oh, okay, the will. So in the will packet, in this section it said my name. It said Hawaiian, to my name, and then in my section on the will, Hawaiian shirts. All it says, and I quote, and I literally quote, all of my collectible Hawaiian shirts, comma, and then there's an unusual space, like 2 or 3 spaces instead of a continuous flow sentence. And my dad was like me, like a writer and a grammar expert, so he would not have produced an untidy sentence like that. But anyways, a big space. So it said, all of my collectible Hawaiian shirts, comma, 2 or 3 spaces, then except for what blank blank wicked stepmother wants to keep for herself. Holy blowhole. So I got 12 of my dad's shirts out of 29. That's not even half. So she clearly went in and into the document, went to that section, took out all of my collectible Hawaiian shirts, blah, 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 comma, or maybe that is even where it ended. And then she added on, except for what blank blank her name wants to keep for herself. No way in a million gates of hell would my dad have ever written that. Except for what she wants to keep for herself. He and I had extensive conversations about, before he died, because it was a scheduled death, 2 months before he scheduled it. That's a whole other story. But he had asked me what's important to me, what would I like. I'm working on my will. I never asked for any assets, any money, any of this. I never even asked him about my parents' original estate, all that funds that went into the life insurance 401k, the original sale of their home that they had for 40 years that, was sold when he met wicked stepmother and they moved up to Napa Valley. Never had any, never mentioned any of that. All I wanted were my mom's paintings, my dad's Hawaiian shirts, and my parents' original wedding bands, which he gave me way before he died, 2 months before when he first got diagnosed, which I'm very grateful to have, because he kept my mom's wedding band. They were special made wedding bands. Back in the 60s, they had an art designer, a gold jewelry designer, design them really thick gold wedding bands. In fact, I have them in the little thing right here on my dresser. I'll show you in a minute, but he didn't put that in the will because he'd already given it to me. So yeah, no way would my dad said, you can have some Hawaiian shirts except for what she wants to keep for herself, because that means she could have kept them all. My dad would have been very specific. He was a businessman. He was the president of a major bank for years. in the 60s and 70s, he worked for the CIA, he worked for the NSA, he was in foreign intelligence, he is an Air Force officer before that. He is extremely businesslike and specific, contractual. He did not do that. So the little lying, well, I can't say, I don't know who's watching this, but I could think of a lot of bad words to say, but I'm not going to do it. But she changed it. And then this is where my story continues after I go to the next book. This is Country Summer by Jade Summer. It's a beautiful book. I thought it was co-colored by Joshua Dunbar before he was doing his own. I swear it is. I'm going to pause this first. Paused it. I wanted to show you guys these rings I was talking about here. These are my parents' wedding bands that were made in like 1968. They were made in Hawaii by a jeweler. This one was my father's, and they wanted wedding bands that were going to be 14 karat gold. They're engraved on the inside. They wanted rings that were unique, not smooth, that had grooves and were unusually wide. This one says, my mom called my dad bears and my dad called my mom lambs. I don't know where they got that from, but it says, to my darling bears, 1968. So that was my dad's wedding band. This was my mom's, unusually a very thick wedding band. And this one says, to my sweet lambs, 1968. And these were unusually, they designed them themselves by a, doesn't even fit on me, by a jeweler on Maui, where they had been for their engagement vacation, and that's where they had them made. So anyway, just gonna show you that. And I will show you, I got some pictures I'm gonna show you. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I'll show you in the next, after this book. I have some pictures of my dad's in the Hawaiian church I'm talking about. So Country Summer. I did do a little tutorial at some point on how to color a strawberry with colored pencils. I don't know if you can see that. I was testing out some inexpensive pencils. I don't even know what they are. Okay, so let's continue. Fresh berries, picked daily. So I do like, this book has a lot of detail. This is definitely like an intermediate level book, or just something that's going to take you more time. Oh yeah, so talking about the will. So I got 12 out of 29 shirts. She obviously stole them. Don't forget, my dad had said they were folded and put inside of a box in his wine locker where they kept their wines, and with my names on it. So she had to have taken them out of the box, sorted through, took what she wanted, put them on hangers, and kept the box, because otherwise I would have seen the box was like cut open and the label taken off or something like that. So then, okay, and if that wasn't enough to get upset about, my favorite part comes after that. The second section on the will was, I had wanted my mom's paintings. My mom probably painted about 70 amazing paintings in her lifetime. Several she had sold or given away. I have probably 40 of them. My sons have about 10 or 15 of them. But my dad still had about 17 paintings of her best paintings, the huge ones that have like very expensive frames on them that are like, the size of a table, like giant paintings, that he had always said that after, when he dies, I'll get the rest of my mother's paintings. But they're hanging in their house that he shared with Wicked Stepmother. So, and he, we had multiple talks before he died over the 2 months, about, oh, why don't you'll get your mother's paintings, where are you going to hang them? And he had even visited 2 or 3 times when he had the pancreatic cancer before he died up here in Oregon. And we were even talking about where I should hang this one, where I should hang that one, and oh, it's all in the will. That's all gonna be in there. He even literally sent me photos in my email of, these are the paintings you'll be getting. Like, thank God he was smart enough to do that, because my dad was very ignorant about the truth about his wife. He was kind of intimidated by her. He was very codependent. At this point, he was relying on her for nursing type stuff. He didn't want to tick her off, obviously. But he was smart enough. I think he assumed the paintings were more important to me than the shirts. I mean, they were both important to me. But, because the shirts reminded me of my dad, the paintings were my mom's. And so thank goodness he had emailed me maybe a month before his death date, and he had put in there, you know, here's photos of the 17 paintings you're getting. Sent me the little photos from his email, like attachments. Great. So somewhere in the subconscious, he knew to do that. And then he had told me it was all in the will. Well, guess what? Well, makes me so mad just thinking about it. Okay, so under the whole shirt section, we get to, my mom's name was Kathleen. For Emily, all of Kathleen's remaining artwork and paintings, comma, space, 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 unusual gap, other than what blank wicked stepmother wants to keep for herself. Are you going, oh? Because, yeah, that's still how I feel, and it's been almost a year. Yeah. I'm going to show you the landscape view. Yeah. First of all, these aren't worth anything, you know. They're not, she wasn't like a famous artist like Thomas Kincaid or anything like that. She knew how important they were to me and the kids, because she had heard my dad have multiple conversations about them when he was dying. I went there at least 4 times. He told her, I'm sure that he, I don't know if he told her he sent photos, but I know he told her, you know, I was getting the paintings, because there's a whole painting crap show that happened during my last visit right before he died, where she literally threw paintings out into the driveway, but that's a whole other story. I have lots of great stories of fortunate people. She knew they're important to me. And so guess how many paintings I received? Now, there were only, I got to take, of the 17, against her dismay, I got to take 12 of them with me from California to Oregon, my visit before he died. And that's, oh, that just set her off like crazy that he did that. But anyway, I was supposed to still get 5 more paintings. Guess how many more paintings I got? This many paintings. 1 more painting. So she kept 4 of my mother's paintings. They weren't even big, glamorous ones. They were like medium size. One of them, and she knew this, was the very first painting my mom painted when she married my dad. The day they graduated from college in 1968, she painted for him as a gift for their wedding. And it was her very first painting, a beautiful floral painting. She kept it. She knew that was important to me. Oh my gosh. And so my parents, my dad, they graduated college on the same day. My dad enlisted in the Air Force, and they got married all on their college graduation day. But anyway, so yeah. So to this day, she has 4 of my mom's paintings. And the only potential reason she could have kept them is because she knew they're important to me. And they had the shirts. I know she kept the shirts because she wanted to sell them, because those are actually worth some money. I'm going to show you, you might have seen these 2 by Deborah Muller before. It's Summertime Fun and Hula Hotties. So I'll do a quick flip through these. This is not her newer summer one she just released. This is an older one. But anyway, my parents, when they were married, they had a big estate. They had like a 4,000 square foot house in Orange County. They had a good amount of money. They were doing really pretty well. My mom died. My dad moved to Napa and married wicked stepmother. Well, all I can tell you is over the next 10 years, all that money vanished. And at the end, they were living in, they had been, they didn't buy any property in Napa Valley when they got married and moved there. But they were leasing like a 3,500 square foot house, which had to cost a fortune in Napa Valley. But I love this book. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, I started, apparently someone didn't finish. Oh, I should finish that one this year. Anyway, in the very end, they were living in a manufactured home, a mobile home on a retirement park slash community in Napa Valley on like a lot. You know, you rent the lot and you can buy the mobile home, like a double wide. Yeah, because over the 10 years they were married, I found out slowly she was convincing my dad to withdraw money constantly from my parents' estate, which went into like his retirement accounts, spend on things, on lavish trips, on a $10,000 like culinary tour of South Carolina and Georgia. Like, what is that all about? And just ludicrously weird type things. And whittled it down because she figured it was going to go to me, because that's what was in the original will before she had him change it. So why not use it up and spend it? And convince him to let me spend it over the years. And he did it. For a man who was a banker and a businessman, my dad did live beyond his means. In the end, he tried to keep up, I think, that lifestyle he and my mom lived. Because she had a 6-figure salary too, but she died, right? So his new wife didn't. She barely worked like waitress type jobs. So, you know, he couldn't quite live the same lifestyle as he had when he was married to my mom. But yeah, it got whittled away. And so in the end, it's not like they had tons of wall space to hang these paintings. In fact, most of them, my mom's paintings, were still wrapped in their garage in like padding and furniture blankets and stuff. Only like 7 or 8 of them were on their walls, and 3 of which she had kept. Now she could just easily go to like Fred Meyer or Ross or Marshall's or anywhere and buy some, or TJ Maxx, and buy some decent paintings the same size or style and hang them up. But that's the kind of person she is. And I was just, and you know, I can't prove that she changed it. She would just deny it and say my dad did that. But I know she did, because it goes against everything he had told me in our conversations prior to when he died the night before, even when she wasn't around. Okay, so this is Hulah Heidi's Deborah Muller, cover colored by Tiffany Kruwicki. And I love this one because it makes me think of Hawaii, my dad. In fact, my dad loved Hawaii so much. So the reason my dad loved Hawaii so much is because he and my mom went to Hawaii. You know, they had timeshares and stuff like that. Every year for like 40 something years they were married. This is Hawaii, a go-go. So the best memories he had were from Hawaii, and then he started bringing us there when we were older, and then I brought my kids there. In fact, I would live there if I could afford it, but I can't. But so even when he was dying for his death day, you know, he wanted Hawaiian, he wanted Hapa playing. You know, Hapa's one of our favorite bands. I've been to a lot of their concerts. He wanted Hapa playing on the music, you know, when he did his thing, and when the death doula came and after. He wanted Hawaiian music playing. He wanted Hawaiian I don't know why I did this. I didn't put, see, when you don't put a divider cover, this is what happens. So speaking of my dad's death day, which is, I don't no idea why I'm talking about this stuff, because the Hawaiian theme, the summer thing just set me off on this topic. If y'all don't want to hear my story, feel free to turn off the sound. Private beach. What was I gonna say? Oh my God, I totally forgot. My dad, death day. Oh my God, I have so many terrible stories what happened around when he was dying. It's almost like so terrible it's funny. So on our final trip to Napa Valley, you know, we came 2 days before my dad was supposed to pass away. He had asked me to bring a bunch of framed photos of my parents, because I had all the family photos, you know, and I had a bunch that were framed, sitting on shelves of he and my mom and their Hawaiian travels and their wedding. He wanted me to bring some so he could choose to have by his bedside on his dresser. He was going to set up like a tropical altar and put a lot of family photos and things important to him. Brought all those. We went through them on his sofa while his wife skulked around looking all teary-eyed like she was highly insulted about it. And he was like oohing and ahhing over all of talking about his memories with my mom and wonderful 45 years and how I want this photo. He chose like 7 framed pictures, like 8.5 by 11 or 5 by 7 or whatever, that in beautiful like gold and silver frames of them, and or some of them family photos of those two with my brother and myself. My brother is no longer in the picture, but anyway, like old family photos of our childhood nuclear family. And he had asked me, we were in the living room, he had asked me to go put them in their bedroom on his dresser next to where he had his hospital bed, you know, because at this point he was still walking around. And she saw me go in there, and I took them into the bedroom. She's like, she chased after me. What are you doing in here? And I said, oh, he just wanted me to put these on the dresser where he's setting everything up for tomorrow's event. She's like, oh, just leave them there on the bag, and we'll all work on that later when we get the flowers. So I left them, you know, on the hospital bed. Next time I go in there wasn't until the next day, the day of. Well, oh God, I can't believe I'm talking about this. When I came in that morning, there was a big bag that I brought all the pictures in with all the pictures in it. And I was like, that's weird. So I go into the room, you know, where all the events are going to take place. And she let him keep one picture of him and my mom. One. Not even the ones with us in it. And she put up like 5 of herself, of her and of him, and put the ones with her in it toward the left end of the dresser, which you could see from where the head of his bed was. Put the one with him and my mom, which was actually, it wasn't even their wedding photo. It was like a trial photo. It was on the far right, up in the corner by the wall, next to where like the head of his bed would have been. So you can't see it without totally cranking your head around. So she didn't even let him have those. And my dad's like, well, I asked him about it. He said, well, you know, I guess it wasn't very respectful. Like, obviously she made a fit about it. But you know what? When someone's dying, it's their choice, and she cared more about herself, which I know I'm setting a terrible picture about this person, but what goes around in life comes around, and karma's a bitch. I don't know what else to tell you. She'll get what's coming to her someday. This is Island Cuties by Joshua Dunbar. It's one of those cute little ones. There's like Valentine cuties and several other cuties. Oh, look what I have. I do have here. I want to show you these pictures of my dad and my mom. Look in there, because these were going to go into a frame. In one of his famous Hawaiian shirts. It's a picture of my mom. This was taken a year before she died on their 45th wedding anniversary on a cruise to Alaska, of all places. So you can see the Hawaiian shirt there. Here's a picture of my dad at his 76th birthday party a few months before he died, when he didn't even know he was sick, wearing Hawaiian shirt. And this is my dad. It's like always had a Hawaiian shirt and a glass of wine. That was my dad. Here's a picture of my dad and his twin brother cooking a Hawaiian feast in their home a couple years before he died, wearing my absolute favorite shirt of his that he knew was one of my favorite shirts, that of course I didn't get, because that's one of the ones she kept. And I have so many pictures of him wearing that shirt. He would like even buy shirts for his twin, and they, you know, they're not identical. But so I'm just like, I don't know. I've really never complained to anybody, so I guess I'm complaining to you guys, because I can't be, if someone judges me, I don't care, because I don't know you, so that's okay. Anyway, so I just have these sitting here. I've been meaning to put them cut them and put them into frames. I could try to zoom in, but I don't think you'll be able to see the whole picture. You can pinch and open your camera more. So this is cute. They're just like cute little pictures. There's a train going by. Oh, I have 2 more books left after this. So I guess I can tell you the story about my mom's other 12 pictures, what happened. So the time before, in July, a month before my dad passed away, the second to last, the trip before the last trip, when I had gone there with my son to visit for a week, the night before we were supposed to leave, we were, you know, she would stay in the back room and blast her TV while my dad was spending time with me and the boys in the living room. We would watch a movie, a pizza and stuff. And she was always invited, would never participate. She was staying in the back room, but she'd always leave the door cracked and her TV really loud. And a few times when we were trying to watch a movie with my dad, he would go and close the door, and she would reopen it within a couple seconds so she could hear everything. That's how she was. She was so like threatened, and untrusting and oh my God. Yeah, because she knew she was up to nefarious behavior. But anyway, so the night before, we were getting ready to leave. It was like 11 o'clock at night. I said, we'll come by in the morning, after we get our breakfast, and say goodbye, because our hotel was right by there. And he's like, well, I might still be asleep, so don't come, but don't want to leave until at least 9 o'clock. I said, okay. He said, well, now that you're here, just to make it easier for Wicked Stepmother, after I go, he was always joking about it, like it's just a practical thing. After I go next month, to make it easier for her to not have to lug all these paintings, do you guys want to take some of them with you this trip? You can get them in the morning. I was like, oh. I was like, yes. I was playing all nonchalant. I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be great. We got them. mini SUV. We can fit him in there. He's like, I'm not going to take any off the walls, because they had like 7 or 8 on the walls, because I want to be able to look at, you know, your mom's paintings until after I'm gone, till the very end. That was important to him. He said, but I have the ones in the garage. No, they weren't even in the garage. They had been moved from the garage inside into their walk-in closet in furniture pads, stacked up against a wall. I have a bunch of them in our bedroom in this walk-in closet. I'll go ask her. I'll ask her. Even though they were his belongings before he met and married Wicked Stepmother, they belonged to my mother, his former wife. It wasn't her freaking decision. He's like, I'll go ask her. And I could hear him. He went in there. I was down the hallway. This was like 11 o'clock at night. And she's watching TV. And he's like, oh, blah, blah. Is it okay if she takes some of the paintings we have in here, blah, blah. And I can't hear what she's saying, but all I heard was, no, it was my idea. Like, I heard my dad say that. No, it was my idea. Like she was trying to be like, is she pining after them? Is she trying to get you to take them now? So he actually sounded like he defended me. And it was his idea. Like, I'm not going to ask him before he died to take all the paintings off the walls and can I take my mother's paintings now? I would never do that. Like, so, and I heard this, she was acting like it was fine. I couldn't make out her words. So he's like, okay, well, he's like, come back in the morning, and when you come to say goodbye, maybe we'll grab a few, but I don't know if we'll be able to get to them all, because apparently there's some stuff in the closet blocking them. We'll see if we can grab a few. And I was like, okay. So I said goodbye. We left, and we went outdoors. We were walking down around the pathway and along the side of the house, and their windows were open. And all of a sudden, I hear her just launch into him. I'm like, why did you do that? And I couldn't hear all the words, but she clearly was ticked off that he got to make a choice to give me some of my mother's paintings, which was already going to be in the will ahead of time. So clearly they argued about it, and I don't know what was said, because we drove away, but some people are terrible. This is my father was dying, and I had to deal with this. I mean, it really was terrible. Like, I didn't have enough problems at the moment already. Okay, this is Sea of Colors by Angela Gonzalez. And it's a tropical theme. It's unique, it's quirky, it's funny. It's the kind that you fold upward. It has good thick paper. So I'll do a quick flip of this. It's all this tropical summer type stuff. And she has a couple of others also. So anyway, okay, well, here's what happened. So the next morning, I was texting my dad, 8:45, hey, we got our breakfast, we're checked out the hotel, we're ready to come by. Wasn't answering his phone, wasn't answering his text. Well, then I got a text from his phone number. This is the first time I learned that she had access to his phone since he'd been sick. She said, hi, Emily, this is Wicked Stepmother. Your dad's still asleep. He had a hard night. He's not feeling well. He won't be getting up on time before you leave. Feel free to come by. Maybe he'll be up by then, but feel free to come by. There's a painting or two for you, or something like that. It was really weird, and it was highly disturbing that he was supposedly asleep and she was picking up his phone. So my sons and I drive there, 10 minutes away, whatever. This is no joke. Pull up into the driveway. And, you get out of the driveway, and there's like a little gate, and along these mobile homes, there's a long cement walkway with like a whole landscape side yard. Oh, that goes along the side. That's kind of the front yard, but it's on the side. So we parked in the driveway. We get out. We're going up along the side of the house. I guess it turned out there was 12, 13 of my mom's paintings had been thrown out onto their like patio, their front cement patio where their walkway was. Just thrown out there, like no furniture pads, huge paintings, like 5 feet, 4 feet, 3 by 8 feet, huge paintings, just with like $800 frames, like really expensive giant custom frames, just thrown out there nonchalantly, not stacked in any particular manner, no barriers between them, all kind of chaotically, like they were just chucked out of there. And I'm like, what the heck? And there was only supposed to be a few in his closet. There was like 12. And I recognized the majority of them were ones that were on the walls. I was like, what the heck's going on? So I went and knocked on the door. And thank goodness my dad had woken up. Thank God. If I had to deal with her, that would not have been pretty. And my dad answered. He's like, oh, hi, I just got out. You came to say goodbye. And the kids are looking around like, oh my God, what's going on? I better not say anything. So then, so I'm like, Dad, what happened? Why? And I looked in, his living room was all bare. All my mom's paintings were taken down. They were all gone. I'm like, what happened? Like, I thought you just wanted me to take the few in your closet. And he's like, oh, well, you know, it's all right. It's all right. I said, well, Dad, you said you wanted to look at the rest of Mom's paintings until after you died. You want to be able to look at them. I don't need to take all of these now. Why did you suddenly take them down off the walls? And he's like, well, I guess wicked stepmother had other ideas, is what he said under his breath. So what happened is I left. She had a fit that he made a decision without and offered something before even asking her. I think that's what really set her off. She wanted to control what I got and didn't get after he died. Didn't want him giving me anything ahead of time because she probably wanted to pluck through them. So they probably had a fight about it when she laid into him. And this is a man who's dying of pancreatic cancer, by the way. And clearly had a fit and threw them all out there and just started ripping them off the walls. I do not believe for one second my dad did that. And I know he didn't because I noticed as I was walking down the hall, he did keep the 3 in his office, which is next to his bedroom, where he's like, and he even said, oh, I refuse to let these ones come down because I'm spending most of my time in the office so I can see them until the end. And they're paintings my mom did of Hawaii. So, I wish there was a way I could insert photos in here. I'd show you some of her paintings, but so anyway, so I think he set his foot down about those. So anyway, but there was only still like 12 of the original 17 he had previously sent me photos of I would eventually get. He said, you'll get the remainder, like 3 in the office and 2 that were still in the closet after I go. And I was like, okay. And we barely could fit them in there. But not only that, when I was saying my last, you know, we sat down with my dad for 10 minutes, have coffee on the patio while the boys were loading the paintings in the car. My sons, and she comes huffing out, slamming the screen door with a paper and a pen and shoves this paper in front of me. It's like a contract. It says, you know, I, blah, 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 my name, hereby confirm I've received 12 of 17 paintings or something, it said, on this date, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, she's like, here, I need you to sign and date this. I was like, what are you, right in front of my dad. My dad's just like, just kind of like rolling his eyes, but he's not saying anything. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I don't want to get accused of not delivering all the paintings after your dad dies. And I'm thinking, she made me like sign it. I guess I could have told her to go, you know, well, I am not going to say that. I'm just going to say you can go have some adult activity with yourself elsewhere out of my face is what I was tempted to say, but I didn't. And, you know, ironically, I maintained decorum and politeness in front of her the entire time. And she did several things like this. And I never let on that it bothered me. I was always polite. And I think it really made her mad. I think she wanted a reaction out of me. I've probably been saving up the story the whole time, so that's why I'm telling you guys. So anyway, so I signed it, but then when my dad died and she dumped the pictures, I only got the 1, and the several were missing. But it was taken out of the will, so therefore it said other than what she wants to keep for herself. So there was no, so I think she did that out of spite. I think she changed the will after he died, just like with the shirts, to say whatever she wanted to keep for herself, just because she was still mad that my dad dared to make a decision to let me take some without asking her, or actually telling me I could. He pretended to ask her, but he had already told me I could, you know. I think it was like a power, a control thing, like a revenge thing. That's what I honestly believe. So, okay. Mythographic. This is my last summer recommendation. I did do a flip through of this recently. You guys have probably seen it. It's brand new. It's Wild Summer. It's probably one of my second favorite. The other one I would recommend is Paradise, which is all tropical and stuff. But this one is more specifically like summer. So if you've seen that flip through, fine. If not, I'm going to tell the last bit of my story here real quick about how the items got dumped in my state. So if you've seen this flip through, you can listen just for the story if you want. This is the most entertainment you've had all day. Okay. So I was told repeatedly by my dad the days before he died, the day before he died, the night before he died, even the morning he died, and often in front of his stepmother, that well, particularly the trip before, you know, when this whole painting crap show happened, I had reiterated several times, you know, we can take all the stuff you have now, packaged with our names on it in the wine locker if you want. And he's like, oh no, I don't, but she wants to deliver it herself. She wants to be able to be the one to do it. And I'm like, I didn't really care. I was just offering. So I'm like, she's going to drive 12 hours to deliver things that are already ready to go. And we're here and we have an SUV and could take it. So that was weird to me from the very beginning. By the way, I love this one with the sandcastle and the turtle. This is one of my absolute favorites. So he had said, you know, I had asked several times, you know, okay, well, when will she be coming up? Because, you know, if she doesn't come by October, there's gonna be snow all over the pass driving between California and Oregon. Alexa cancel, and she won't be able to do it until like the next spring. He's like, she'll be in touch. She'll be in touch. And I you know, my sons and I both try to get an idea of how long after he were to pass would she be thinking of bringing these up? Because I didn't want to wait months and months to get my dad's items. He already had with our names on it to give to us, because that's kind of like part of the grieving process. And I don't know if I wanted any of that for his funeral, which turns out she wouldn't have a funeral. So I had to do my own thing in a different state. But anyway, no funeral for him, no nothing on her end. Cost too much. I love this one too. This makes me think of Tahiti Bora Bora. Anyway, he said she'll be in touch. She'll let you know when she's ready to head up to Oregon. She's going to combine it with a trip up to Portland. She's never been there, and do a little travel. And I said, well, can you give me an idea? Is it going to be 1 week after? Is it going to be a month after? Is it going to be by the end of September? Like, it was very bothering me. And he would say, but she'll let you know, and don't push her. Believe me, whatever you do, don't push her. Believe me, if you push her, you're going to have a bigger problem. Like, he warned me. And I'm like, why is she getting to control all of this? Why can't you tell her, my daughter and grandsons are going to take these items, I'm leaving them, or whatever. Like, what? But clearly she controlled him, and he was dependent on her and was running her dry. And she had him fooled, I think, about her real personality. Like, he was not the most introspective guy when it came to like human personalities. He took things more at face value, and she was a very good actress in front of him, I think. But anyway, sometimes. And she probably rationalized and explained away all the rest. So anyway, even after he passed away and that event was done, we were getting ready to leave, and there's more terrible scenarios leading up into that event that she tried to block, including me getting to go into the room with him, but because she really didn't want us alone. She thought I was going to probably try to change something, or that I would find out about the will, or he'd give it to me or something. She was extremely, like, hovering over my neck every second I tried to be alone with my dad. Not with the kids, just with me. But anyway, as we were leaving, you know, after he died, and the death doula was there and the hospice nurses, and she's like, oh, well, you know, I was like, oh, you know, good luck with everything. I'll see you, maybe in a few weeks when you come up to Oregon. And she's like, oh, I'll be in touch. Yeah, I just need to go through the house, make sure there's no additional items, and, you know, and get all this stuff done and give myself a little space, and then I'll be up there, and I'll let you know. And, you know, my dad had said she'd contact me, email me when she was coming, so we could make sure we're here at a good time and help her unload everything. So October comes around, never heard from her. I was starting to sweat that I was never going to see those items, seriously. And I even told my dad, I'm worried, what if she never comes? What if she never brings those items? And, oh, I know what kind of person she is. She'll do what she says. She'll deliver, and don't worry. And I was like, oh God, you're so naive. Like, I didn't say that, but I was really sweating it. And I had emailed her a few times. I gave it 5 weeks and emailed her a few times, didn't hear back. 6 weeks comes around, 7 weeks. We're in the first week of October, actually. Never heard back from her. Well, one night at 10 o'clock at night, my son and I were sitting there finishing off a movie. It was dark, you know, the lights were off, a movie was on in the living room. Someone's knocking on my door at 10 o'clock at night. I was like, oh God, I hope it's not the cops or something, you know. And I opened the door, and my other son, who lives 5 minutes away, he has his own house just up the road, is standing there. He works sometimes until 8. This is almost 10 o'clock though, and he is in his work clothes, and he's literally standing there with like the painting and these Hawaiian shirts and some boxes. All he had already unloaded the car, like on my porch. Like, he's standing there with the stuff, like my dad's, I recognize as my dad's things. And I was like, what is going on? And he's like, oh, I have some of Grandpa's things here. I'm like, yeah, you know, I was like, hey, what are you talking about? He's like, well, Oh, Mary just left. She contacted me. She came to my house. She made it clear she didn't want to come here or have to see you. You know, and to be perfectly honest, the day before he died, you know, back in August, he had told me, even though he and his wife were telling me she was going to contact me and come and do it, he had told me that she doesn't want to have to go through me or see me or bring him to me. And my dad had offered, well, we'll have, you know, grandson A, I'm not going to say my son's name, do it, because they live nearby. He'll, you know, and it was the wife, the stepmother, my stepmother, that made it very clear she didn't want to have to see me. And now we know why, because she was going to steal some of my dad's things and give the wills with the pages changed and missing and run. So I could, when you think about it, if she had come here, and you know, I had, despite everything that had happened, I had always been nice to her. I'd never argued with her. I never challenged her. I never even said a bad thing to my dad about her. I was kept it very well contained because I'm not stupid, you know, and I knew she controlled his items and I was heirlooms and stuff, and I was not about to like tick her off. So, but anyway, like imagine if she had come, if she had like, one, I could have seen right up front there was half the shirts or more than half the shirts were missing. I would challenge her. Two, what if I had opened the envelope with the will in front of her and saw that it was changed, that she got to keep whatever she wanted of the two things my dad was going to leave me? She knew I would have a problem with it, challenge her, and so she didn't want to open that door. So she made sure. So she was planning this ahead of time, I think, before my dad even died. That she knew. I think she was going to change it. That she was mad he was going to give me all the shirts and the paintings, and was going to change that page, the middle page, and make sure that it was just going to be dumped off to me and she was going to run. There's nothing I could do about it. And my son was none the wiser, you know, he's a guy. He didn't know what was what. But I felt so betrayed by my son for agreeing to this and keeping it a secret. Apparently Mary planned it with him like 7 to 9 days before about when she was coming. And I had seen him like multiple times. He never told me she was coming. And well, that was her request. And I felt so mad and betrayed, and like I actually was kind of looking forward, I don't know why, to seeing her a little bit, because it was kind of going to be like a closure thing, and I had always still hoped we could kind of like maybe still be friends. I'd give her the benefit of the doubt, and every time we go to Napa in the future, I could maybe have dinner with her when we could hear stories about my dad or something. But well, no, clearly she did not have that intention. So I felt lied to and betrayed, and it ruined it so much that I couldn't even go through my dad's things. I had such a bad taste in my mouth about it that, you know, and the kids wanted to look through their things, and I couldn't do it. I was so mad, and so that's what happened. She dumped and ran. She was, so when my son came home from work, he knew Mary. Oh God, I just used her name. Okay, that's Wicked's stepmother's name. That's actually her middle name that she goes by. That's not her real name, so that's okay. I say that. That's what she wants people to call her, because her first name was like an old lady name. Anyway, that's what we called her. But she had gotten there like 2 hours before he got off work, had taken everything out of the car and dumped it on his porch, and was just sitting in her car on the side of the street when he pulled up. She didn't want to stick around and talk to him. And she's like, oh, I just want to make sure it didn't get stolen. Everything's there. And I need to get going back on the road. Blah, blah, blah. I'm driving up to Portland. And she just left. So he only talked to her for like a minute. So she is a coward and a thief. And, you know, I kind of I still have a little resentment. My dad, about how he didn't do better with the will and make sure that stuff was protected and give me a copy ahead of time. Because there's nothing I could do to like go back and prove that she did any of that, and it's really unfortunate. But that's my story, my tropical story that ties into the Hawaiian shirts and this summer theme. So I'm gonna go back and put in a precursor at the beginning of this video that I do talk about some drama and my chat video, so feel free to turn off the sound. But I love all of these books, and I hope you'll find something you like that'll make you think of summer. And I hope you guys have a good summer. If you have any more summer book recommendations, please drop it in the comments below. See you in the next video.